Hey everybody, do you carry concealed every day, under clothes? Here's something to think about. How dirty is the inside of your firearm that maybe you don't know about? Can you get to it and clean it out? Do you know how to do that? Can you tear your gun apart and clean it out, put it all back together, and do it properly without screwing things up? So we're going to go through this. So, we'll piss off the Glock haters. I don't care. Get over it. We're going to use this Glock 19 for example. Look at the dust, okay? It's clear and safe. Empty chamber, verified, it's all good to go. So here's what you start getting if you carry under clothes. That's dust and lint. It's going to happen. So maybe you'll blow it off, wipe it off, brush it off, something like that. Okay, what about the inside? Okay, you can field strip it, but you can only field strip so far, right? Well, Glock doesn't want you tearing down firearms beyond field stripping to clean them. They have their reasons. However, it's not hard to do, to go to the armorer's level. And it's very, very, very easy to do so compared to other firearms. And I'm not going to pick on the other firearms, because we'll have the crybabies say, oh, well, you're just picking on them because you hate them and blah, blah. Again, cry me a river, get over it. Let's open this up and just see how much dust is in it, out of curiosity. We're still at field strip level. Here's the slide and the recoil spring and the barrel. Everything is still assembled, just took the slide off the frame. Start looking up close. See the dust. Yep, we got the dust on the outside, we got dust on the inside. It's building up. Is this gun gonna not function? No, it's gonna function. Well, let's pop it apart a little bit further. Just to see where the dust accumulates. If you can see in the barrel, I don't know how the detail is going to be, but dust will start accumulating in the barrel. It happens. Lint. Now we got this apart a little more. Like them specks right there. That's all dust. And you rails here, you're going to get dust. Where else are you going to get dust? You're going to get dust up in here, right? Oh, it's just like your house. Dust is going to go everywhere. Where else are you going to get dust? Right here. This is as far as you go on field stripping level. This is the end of the story. Check out the dust. Got dust in here. We start getting back in here. Got dust there. Lint. Got dust here, we got dust here, got dust down in there. Okay. You're going to have dust up your magazine well, you can get to that. You can have dust in here. Anywhere there's a crevice or a hole, you're going to get dust. The best we can do with this is use a brush and Q-tips, patches, and wipe what we can access, right? Go in here, brush it all up, right? Clean it up. Get back in here. Try and knock the dust off. That's what we do, right? That's field stripping level. Maybe we can blow it out. Maybe we can get some compressed air cans, try and blow it out. And that's going to be as good as you get. But how good is that really? Well, let's find out. So I'm just going to brush this over. And then we're going to take it out. Just to see what we missed. Up the mag well, try and loosen that up a little. We're going to run a dry patch through that. Just try and collect up more dust. And all this is just crap off shirts. Look inside your shirt. Lint. It accumulates. All right, well, knock the top layer of dust off. Looks pretty good, right? So maybe now you'll wipe it out with a patch, Q-tip it, do what you can do. Let's pull the guts out just to see what it looks like. I'm not showing you how to disassemble and reassemble because CommuTube gets kind of sensitive about that. Well, we get dust that builds up in here that you can't get to, underneath there that you can't get to without removing it. Now our trigger assembly and our trigger bar. Remember, we brushed off the top of that when it was in the frame. Let's pop it out just to see if there's anything in behind there. Oh yeah, not a lot, but there's some. Got some dust down in there. I know it's hard to see it on the camera, but down in there, you can't get to down in there without disassembling. Well, what do we got behind the connector? Not bad yet, but you'll get stuff that builds up in here. This little metal piece, the connector, will start building crap up around it. This is the rear side that faces the plastic. Goes in there. You can't get to that doing a field strip. And if you're shooting, you're going to get a mess that builds up in there too. Your trigger bar, on the right side of your trigger bar in here, you're going to start getting a pile of mess. Underneath your cruciform, you'll start getting a pile of mess. And without it coming apart, there's no way to get to it to clean it. You just can't do it. Start dipping around in here and just see what we get. This has not been fired. It's just going to be whatever it is from carrying it. So let's take a dip right in behind here where the connector would go. Yeah, not bad. Dive down in there. Look at that. Not horrible, but it's starting to pick up some stuff, right? I just put a little bit of bore cleaner on the Q-tip so it'd be sticky. So these areas you cannot clean without completely disassembling, which this is all armorer level according to Glock. Yeah, how about that? Now, stripping down a Glock is really a piece of cake compared to pulling apart some other firearms. You don't need hammers, you don't need special punches, and blah, 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 blah. Look how dirty that Q-tip's got. And that is just off that one little component. Let's wipe the connector, see how dirty that is. Again, this gun would not fire. It would work, and it would fire many, many, many rounds. It is not gummed up that bad. But still, you want to keep stuff clean, right? Okay, connector ain't too awful terrible. Get our dust out from behind here. Just use a little dab of bore cleaner. Just something to help grab any lint. Trigger bar. Wipe everything down good. This has got some Geeb on it. You see the patch is starting to get kind of gummy. And I'll reiterate, this is just from carrying. Dirt from carrying. This is not from firing. Firing is going to get really messy, and you can't get to it. All right, so there is everything out of the frame. Now I'll just clean the frame. Oh, forgot the locking block. Got the locking block over here. Clean that up. Now I have access all through there. I can get in there with Q-tips. I can get down in through there with patches, good shape. I can clean everything up. Get all the Geeb out. That's what we want. You know, dusty, dirty guns. We don't like dusty, dirty guns. Not terrible, but there's dirt there, right? That came out of right down in there where the trigger assembly goes. A place you can't get to on a field strip. It's also recommended, as things go back together, right there on the face of the connector, where the trigger bar contacts it, is putting a little drop of lubrication. So when it goes back together, like so, where those two rub, you have lube. Makes sense, right? Can't get to that unless this is out. We have some people out there who will show you improperly how to do things. And one of them things is using a hammer on a Glock. You don't use hammers on Glocks. Some other firearms you need to. And you need to use punches and special punches that are specially shaped and so on and so forth. On a Glock, you don't. And if somebody is, they're doing it wrong. And they can really screw things up. And the famous thing they will do that on is right here on this pin, right there. See that lower pin? Because what'll happen is sometimes they'll start trying to push on it, like right now. It doesn't want to move. It won't move. It won't move. It won't move. So they think, I need to hammer it out of there. And they will beat the snot out of it, and they'll start bending things up and breaking things. That's not what you do. You know how to free that pin up? Just a second. I'll show you. See that little lever right there, right? It goes up and down. Well, it also wiggles forward and rear just a little bit. So, just a second ago, that pin was stuck, right? That pin is still stuck. It won't move. I'm pushing on it. All I'm going to do is stick one finger down the magazine well and my thumb on there. And I'm going to put a little pressure on that pin. And now I'm going to wiggle. That pin just popped right out, didn't it? How about that? Now I've just put it back in. It's retained that. It's function checking. It's good. And if you do not put this all back together correctly, you're going to have problems. So learn to do things the right way. I've said that in another video showing an AR. Because if you don't, just like this assembly, you can screw it up. And if you start taking a hammer and a punch to that pin, what's going to happen? You're going to start bending things. What's going to get bent? You're going to destroy that right there. Okay? So whichever way they try to hammer it, you're going to bend it either that way or bend it that way and screw this all up. This is the spring, okay? But this black piece where the hole is, that's what the pin goes through. And that's what it fetches up on. And where it fetches is right here. See those? So that's why they think they need to hammer it. So when it's jammed up and it won't move because it's sitting in its notch right where it's supposed to be, and that's something you need to listen for when you reassemble this, just by doing that little wiggle, that's what frees it up, and the pin just slides right out like it's supposed to. Putting it back together, I haven't quite sunk this thing all the way in yet. So let's see if you can hear the click. Did you see that little click when I pushed it in? That was everything seating into place. Then we function check. It works. Now the spring on that little lever, if that's off sideways like it is on this one, you can't just go jamming it in there because it needs to be underneath it, not next to it. Just things you need to know. It's all back together. The lower is good to go. It's not that complicated. This is a piece of cake compared to some other firearms. Now, I'm not trying to come across to you as a smartass. I'm trying to come across as whatever you're carrying, whatever firearm it is, whatever platform it is, do you know how to get into it if you need to fix things, clean things, and do it right? That's what I'm trying to drive home here. I like Glock personally because, one, they're so simple. I just showed you everything in a little pile there that's in the lower, with the exception of like the magazine catch spring. Okay, I ain't pulling that out, there's no need to. And there's really nothing else left in there. It's so simple and it's modular. It's very, very easy to fix if something goes wrong. You don't have to, be a rocket scientist to do it. So now let's get into the slide and see what we've got inside of there as far as Geeb goes. All right, in the slide, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to brush it off, then we're going to take it apart and see what we have. So I'll recap that. We can see the dust and Geeb in there, right? That's not a bad angle. All them speckles. Lint. Get the slide rails. Hit the breech face here. Blow on it a little bit. And I'm just trying to simulate what a field strip would be for the average owner. All right. So here's what we got now. Well, let's pop it open and see what's inside it. This cover plate. Like the punch thing, we don't use a screwdriver to remove that, okay? People have done that. They will get a little screwdriver wedged up in there and start prying that down to pry it off because they don't know how to properly disassemble the slide. Again, I'm not going to get into it because of, CommiTube doesn't really like that. Well, here's what I used. My little punch. And now it's coming off. Okay. There it is. So now I can take the guts out. Here's the slide guts. Here's the body. Here's the guts. Minus that. So there's our plate. That's our firing pin assembly. And here's our pressure plunger and our extractor and such. There it is. Not much to it, is there? And I can take that down a little bit further. So what do we got for dust buildup? Well, let's see. Let's take a look right here. If you can see it in there. There is lint and dust starting to build up in here. Well, is that important? That is important because that moves. Is that little bit of lint and dust gonna jam that up? No, it ain't. But over time, if you start getting huge buildups in there, you could start causing some issues. Well, the average person isn't supposed to get to this. In behind the extractor wasn't too bad. Let's see what we got. Still got a clean side of that Q-tip. Let's take a dip up the firing pin channel just out of curiosity. Let's see what's up in here. Give her a little bit of a rub around. And pull it out a little bit. Sometimes it gets dirtier than others. Oh, there we go. Now we're getting there. Okay, you saw it when it went in. That's just the firing pin channel from a few swipes. That notch right there where the extractor sits, you'll get dust, lint and such building up down in there too. If you get enough of it, you might get some interference with your extractor. That first dip up the firing pin channel was a dry Q-tip. Gonna hit it with just a little dab of bore cleaner now, just to help grab any Geeb. And this Glock is nowhere near as dirty as it's been before. I mean, if it was being shot, it's gonna be a lot dirtier than that. So, again, at a field strip level, if this was shot, this was really nasty up in there, you can't get to this. Hey, look at that. That's from the firing pin channel. Now I can also access the firing pin channel somewhat through the extractor notch right there. I can get up in there. I can go, I don't want to drop this, try to be careful with it. I can get right up in through there. Still pulling some out. Now granted, I'm sure some guns like to be treated like princesses and you don't have to be 100% squeaky clean. A Glock, you can get these things filthy and they're still gonna run and gun. Just kind of destroyed that Q-tip, but you see some Geeb right there. But again, the point is, whatever you're carrying, can you learn properly how to tear it apart and get in there and do a good deep clean? This is your firing pin assembly. Firing pin right here in my fingers. That's your lug for it. We're gonna see that again in a few minutes. We do not put lubrication on springs. We do not put lubrication in the firing pin channel. And even at the field strip level, okay? So you tear this apart or whatever, you clean it up at the field strip. You do not put lubrication down that firing pin hole, okay? Leave it dry. Why doesn't Glock want people tearing things down this far? Because people tend to screw things up. And they'll put in the wrong parts, they'll start filing things, modifying things, and doing things they should not do. And then when something goes wrong, what do? They blame it on Glock, right? So I go in, I screw something up, and then I blame it on the manufacturer, then I try to sue the manufacturer because I put the wrong parts in. Or I decided to follow somebody on the internet who says, go in here and start filing this down to slick my trigger up. Nope, that's on you. So here's another place where people can screw things up and it's going to cause issues. So what would somebody do? They tear things down like this and they haven't learned a correct way to do things and how to determine what correct parts are. So they'll just get something, it looks good, they put it in, and then something bad happens, and then they go blame somebody else for something that's their fault, right? And that's the American way. So here we go. Extractor, depressor, plunger, assembly. Say that 5 times fast. That is this rig right here. It's 3 pieces. You've got a rod, you've got a spring, and then you get a little polymer bearing out here on the end, okay? And these are going to be different depending on what Glock you have. So you can't just go get one of these that looks like this and drop it in any Glock. It's not going to happen. And I'm going to show an example. I'm not going to go through every piece of this, but here's an example. I'm going to pull this bearing out. Try not to drop it on the deck and lose the friggin' thing. This is a little piece of plastic. All right, here it is, right? It's a little piece of polymer. Now, let's say you have a .45 caliber. You go to the store because you think you need to replace this, whatever. And you buy this one, you buy the black one. You put it in your gun, something goes wrong. You blame Glock. It ain't Glock's fault. You got the wrong part. This is not made for .45 caliber, okay? So let me show you some stuff I got in bags here. Here's some more bearings. These came directly from Glock. Notice the color difference. Those are kind of like OD green, and that's black. Completely different. Here's some other ones. These are different. This one is .40 caliber and it's non-LCI extractor. So these ones are made to go in a .40 caliber firearm without a loaded chamber indicator extractor. If you mix them up and put them in the wrong gun, you're going to be setting yourself up to have problems. Whose fault would that be? Here's my correct one for 9mm and 380. So I'm going to put all that together. And it goes in the slide. And I've seen these backwards because some people don't know what they're doing. They will take the bearing, that little plastic piece, and they'll put it in first so that it touches the extractor. That's wrong, that's backwards. The metal goes first, metal to metal, polymer to polymer. That's a very simple thing, but if somebody doesn't know, they don't know, right? So they're just gonna stick stuff together. So the metal goes in just like that, and it hits the extractor, metal to metal. And then this polymer bearing here is going to sit on your polymer slide plate. That little piece right there. Plastic, plastic, metal, metal. Very simple concept. Well, before we put that on, we're going to use a special slide plate. That's an orange slide plate. And it's shorter. The reason it's shorter is for an inspection. This is all armorer stuff. I don't even know if you can buy these in the store. I don't think you can. So when we wind up putting this all back together, we are going to be able to see into there. We'll get there. Glock recommends a dab of oil on the barrel. So I just put a couple drops on there, spread it around. Why is that? Yeah, I'm using a public finger, but that's okay. Why is that? Well, the barrel is a wear surface, right? Okay. Be careful, it's going to get a little bit slippery. Barrel's in the slide. Recoil spring, I've already dusted it off. Blow it off with air, hit it with a brush or whatever. No oil, no lubrication. Put it in dry. All right. So now we're ready to put this thing together with an orange plate. And I've not lubricated the rest of it yet. We'll get to that. All right, so now we can take a look in the back of there. Right there, you can see the firing pin lug sticking down, right? Now watch what happens. There you go. With your regular plate, you cannot see inside of there. All back together. All right, so your manual, your user's manual is going to show you proper lubrication. And that's how you do it. Do it by what Glock recommends, okay? So function check it. We'll check again, make sure we have clear chamber. Yep, clear chamber. All set, good to go. Cycle it. Triggers forward. Firing pin is not rattling, okay? That's a good thing. That's what we want right now. So now we're going to depress the trigger. Firing pin just dropped. Now we can hear the thing rattle. Okay, she's free. Trigger held to the rear. Cycle. Okay. Firing pin is not rattling. Release the trigger, we should hear click. That was the trigger reset. And now, if we squeeze the trigger again, firing pin should drop. Nothing's happening, right? There you go. I know, the Glock haters will be out. I don't care. There's no one firearm that fits everybody. And that's just the way it is. It's not like there's one vehicle that fits everybody. So, I'm not going to get into fighting over gun brands. The point is, whatever you got, I'm going to reiterate, whatever you're carrying, are you comfortable with it? And if you need to fix it, can you fix it and fix it correctly? And if you are carrying it every day, that dust, geeb, sweat, nastiness that gets inside of them things, can you get in there and clean that out if you need to do that? And put everything back together correctly? That's up to you. Have a good one.